Okay, I think we'll go ahead and start here in a minute. So, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to this meeting of the Surbiton Neighbourhood Committee at Glenmore House. Particularly warm welcome to those members of the public with us tonight. I'm Councillor Tom Reeve and I'm chairing this meeting. In the event of an emergency and the sounding of an alarm, the emergency evacuation procedure is to leave the hall by the fire exit, the one behind you, and congregate in the car park. Anyone requiring assistance should remain in their seats and you'll be assisted from the building. Anybody who wishes to follow the agenda from their tablet or smartphone can do so by going to the Council's website and following the links to your Council and the Council meeting calendar. So this meeting is being filmed for a live broadcast on the Council's YouTube channel, and an archived version will be available to view after the meeting finishes. The broadcast will be suspended during any adjournments in proceedings, and if the committee resolves to consider information as exempt business. Members are reminded that microphones must be switched on and spoken into clearly for the broadcast. And can everyone present in the meeting also ensure that your mobile phones are switched off or in silent mode? Thanks. So I'll start by asking members to introduce themselves, and I guess I'll start across from me with Alison.
Good evening. I'm Councillor Alison Holt and I represent Surbiton Hill Ward.
Hi, Councillor Liz Green, St Mark's and Seething Wells Ward.
Hello, Councillor Diane White, also St Mark's and Seething Wells Ward.
Councillor Jürgen St Mark's and Seething Wells Ward.
Councillor Peter Hurlinger, Alexander Ward.
Good evening, Councillor Anita Sharper, Berrylands Ward.
Andrew Waldridge, Tolworth Ward.
Councillor Taitei Allen, Tolworth Ward.
Good evening, Mariana Gonçalves, Tolworth Ward.
Okay, thank you very much, councillors. We also have officers present who will introduce themselves when they present their reports. So moving on to public questions. We have a period of no more than 30 minutes for questions on matters relevant to the committee. We like to encourage questions to be submitted in advance so that officers have an opportunity to answer them, although that's not absolutely necessary. So we have, how many?
Here we can just
okay, we have one person, Hilary Gander, who is going to ask a question. So you can ask a question and ask a supplementary question afterwards. I think you're quite familiar with the routine. Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, councillors. My question is about the speed indicator sign on Langley Avenue. It's near Southborough Road. When is this going to be reset or removed? It's displaying "thank you" for all speeds up to 30 miles an hour directly underneath the 20 mile an hour limit sign. 3 years after Surbiton implemented its neighbourhood 20 miles an hour zone. I did attach a video, but I think you can probably imagine it. It's flashing away, "thank you, thank you, thank you," and cars are zipping past it, and there's 20 mile an hour signs. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
There's nothing to switch off here, is there?
No, I think you're fine. So thank you very much. If you have you can stay if you have a supplementary question. Maybe after hearing my response, you might. Okay. I don't know. Or you can go back to your seat. Well, I have a response for the highways team. and who told me that they've already received this issue regarding the speed indicator sign on Langley Avenue from Councillor Holt, and has been passed to the relevant officer who will assess the feasibility of removing and replacing the sign. And Councillor Holt, did you have anything to add to that?
Thank you. Yes, I did notice it myself, but thank you for bringing it attention. I think we have told the officers before, so I think it's fallen off of a list. But I absolutely agree, it's not the right message, and they will be they take it down, and I'm hoping replace it with a 20 miles an hour one instead. But I haven't got a time scale.
No, that would have been my only supplementary question, so thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay, so we've not received any notice of petitions, so moving on to apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies, Herman?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies were received from Councillor Jackie Davies.
Okay, thank you very much. So we move on to declarations of interest. Members are asked to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests or other registrable or non-registrable interests relevant to items on this agenda. Do any members have declarations of interest to make? Councillor Herlinger?
Yes, in the item number 7, the Yule Road Cycle Road Experimental Traffic Management Order, in the interests of openness and transparency, I just want to inform the committee that the Surbiton Smile Centre, which operates out of 148 Yule Road, is my dentist.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other interests? No, thank you. Looking at the minutes, do members agree to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on 4th of November 2025 as a correct record? Okay, thank you very much. So moving on, we have item 6, which is the community safety update. And I'll hand over to our Community Safety Officer, Linneke Elleveld.
Yeah? Okay, perfect. I'm Linneke Everveld. I'm Strategic Lead for Community Safety. My title has changed over the last couple of years, a couple of times. I'm part of the Community Safety team, and I'm here presenting on what we do in the council. The update has changed slightly. So the update used to be around antisocial behaviour. We've made it a bit wider to make it more relevant to members of the public and for councillors. So the update is about all the work we do across community safety to give you a bit of a flavour, but also equally about things that you can potentially get involved in, to give you an idea about some of the issues you might be facing in your areas and what we do about them. Also, just a note about the presentation. Presentation can be shared, so we've kind of included more details in it and links in it as well, so that people have that context when we share the presentation, if I'm not speaking. So just going through it, the basis of our work is always focused on data, but also on what residents tell us. So through feedback surveys and through the work with youth councils and through focus groups and engagement events, we get a kind of insights in what is important. So some of the things that were mentioned around antisocial behaviour, drug dealing, theft, burglary, drunken disorderly behaviour, violence, including violence against women and girls, and hate crime. Now, some of those fall very much in the remit of the community safety team, others fall more in the remit with the police. So then we work very closely in partnership on some of those topics with the police and other partners. around young people and their priorities, very much about youth violence, including also violence against women and girls, drug dealing, racism and theft. So slightly different priorities based on the ages that people are. So just starting with antisocial behaviour, just a bit of an update around the data. So the Council received 399 reports between September 24 and October 25. Now, these are reports that come to the community safety team and the housing team only, not to environmental health, for example, which is around fly tipping, etc. That doesn't come to us. So that's not included in this data. Our main types of data are around neighbour disputes, drugs, and ASB other, which includes kind of the public spaces and the environmental ASB as well. And intimidation, harassment, and verbal abuse, also a category that is one of the largest categories that we have with 51 reports. When you look at the right column, you see all the wards and the amount of reports we've received. Kingston Town Centre is the biggest ward. That doesn't mean we're only focusing Kingston Town Centre. Of course, we focus on all the wards across the borough. The reason that the reports are the highest is because the town centre has a lot of footfall through the nighttime economy and all the shops, etc. So don't let that confuse you. I would say that the Kingston Town is so high because it's not really comparable with other wards because it's not a residential ward only. So if we look at the different neighbourhoods, again, Kingston and North Kingston, the largest amount of reports, and then we have Surbiton, New and Old Malden, and then south of the borough. So that's all the wards combined for your neighbourhood. Just what we do around antisocial behaviour, just share a bit of awareness around like how to report. So we do a lot of awareness around that. We do ASB talks, we attend different events in the community to raise the awareness. During ASB Awareness Week, we also organise several stalls. And also we do engagement with businesses around antisocial behaviour as well, certain businesses that might cause antisocial behaviour. And just sharing the new Met Engage platform, we help the Met Police to share that with residents because that gives you really good updates from the police around what's going on in your neighbourhood and what they've done about it as well. So sometimes that gives that reassurance of like something has happened in my neighbourhood, but actually there's action taken, or this is what the public is advised. So that's why we help the Met Police as well to promote that platform. We have, last year, we've adopted the ASB pledge, which means that we have a victim-focused approach. Now, we need to kind of like demonstrate our commitment to that and put the victims at the heart of our response. So we're doing several things around that, about how we respond to residents when they send a report, about the information that we share with residents. That is not only about this is a solution, sharing the evidence, but also about what can we do to support you as an individual because you're experiencing that. So that is very much at the heart of the work we do related to that. And we also had victim impact training for professionals working on antisocial behaviour to make that response better towards residents because we appreciate that when you live somewhere and you experience a lot of antisocial behaviour, that can be quite challenging to be a victim of that. So around partnership working, won't go in depth in all of it, but we focus on locations as well. So just an example from the kind of the last 6 months is Fish Ponds Park. So Fish Ponds Park has become part of a contextual safeguarding walkabout. Contextual safeguarding means improving the safety of a space for young people. And that doesn't mean we don't look at the adults, but it just means that there is risk of harm for young people in that space. So we get the right professionals involved and did a walkabout looking at kind of with green spaces and we've looked at kind of improving the area to make it more visible. It's very much co-produced with them and including their views on what we need to focus on with violence against women and girls. So that's very positive. The survivors also co-presented the strategy at People Committee in March 2025, where some of the councillors might have attended. So there's 4 priorities in that: support to survivors, around children and young people and the impact on children and young people. holding perpetrators to account, and VOG is everyone's business. So that is where everyone comes into this room, is to making sure that we raise that awareness, that we report things when things are happening, and that we are vigilant basically of what's happening around us and with our loved ones and with our families, etc. So we are very much focusing on that everyone has a part to play of not ignoring problems that are happening. So there is some links in there that you can read afterwards about summary if you want to know more. White Ribbon accreditation, the council is White Ribbon accredited, which White Ribbon is then the leading charity that focuses very much on getting men and boys involved in pledging to not ignore issues and violence against women and girls. So the accreditation has renewed, so it means we have an action plan that is specifically focused on that, which has a couple of themes: strategic leadership, engaging men and boys, changing culture, and raising awareness. So there's a lot falling under that, but very much a focus of the council, and we have quite a few male White Ribbon ambassadors within the council, which is great. Yeah. And female ambassadors as well. Yeah. Very much so. Then we had 16 days of activism for White Ribbon, and there's just like on the slide you see kind of like some activities that are going on, but it's very much training sessions for professionals that we organized. And there was also a conference last week, Monday, a VOG conference, what was very much focused on the strategy and having workshops. And some of the workshops were led by the Youth Council as well, so to get young people involved in the conversation and in the actions to be taken related to ending violence against women and girls. This is a bit of practitioner guide that we wanted to share of what is domestic abuse, and that can happen at any age as well. That guide can be read afterwards as well. So that was some work that we've done with the Silver Project. This is a summary about all the support that is available. So when I said VOG is everyone's business, it sometimes also is a matter of like knowing what support is out there, and when people talk about it, to share what the support services are. Sometimes that's about trickling it down like very slowly in a conversation. Oh, have you heard of, for example, the Women's Hub? Like, would you like to go there? It's not always easy to have those conversations, but if you're not aware of the services, you can't refer people to it either, and you can't inform people about it. So that's why this is all the support that's available. So quite a lot across Kingston. But yeah, it's about raising awareness about that as well. So then we have around engagement and empowering young people. So I already mentioned the Youth Council before. The Youth Council does a lot of work across Kingston around community safety. So there's 3 surveys that has gone out, and the amount of people they reach, we as a council won't reach that amount of young people, that's for sure. So it's very nice to see that young people are putting out those surveys and getting those responses. So the sexual harassment survey got 1,100 responses, racism survey 1,300 responses, and the crime and safety 1,500 responses. So it's amazing to get so many views of young people across the borough. And that has gone into a children and young people action plan. So we're looking at that action plan at the moment with the Youth Council, with young people as well, to look at how we actually implement all those ideas that young people have and how we take that forward. There's quite a few more things on there, but those are the highlights, just in keeping in time. Hate crime, Strengthen Community Challenging Hate Together was our event a couple of weeks ago on the 5th of November. So we had some speakers of our key services, Kingston Race and Equalities Council, who has been in Kingston for a long time and very much established. But we've recently commissioned Stop Hate UK. So that's a new service because we acknowledge that Kingston Race and Equalities Council might not be appropriate for everyone to access. And plus, the Stop Hate UK has a 24-hour helpline, so can be accessed at any time of the day. So we've recently commissioned that, and that's why we also wanted to do an event to raise awareness about services, etc. However, the event was great because we got so much interaction and people really wanted to get involved more. So now we are thinking about what we can do next and how we can involve everyone in the conversation as hate crime, very much so as I talked about violence against women and girls, like how are we going to do something together and get the voices of all the residents heard. So those actions and ideas are currently being analysed and look at the further actions following it. Just the information of Stop Hate UK and the helpline number on the slides for information. And Stop Hate UK is also doing training sessions, and we as a community safety team also do training sessions around hate crime. So if that's of interest to your community, I'm happy to arrange something so that we get that sorted. Then just, again, information about reporting and support. And then going to the training engagement. Just a little bit of data on like what we've done over the kind of like 25, 26. So between April 25 and October 25, 1,751 community members attended training sessions and engagement activities organized by community safety. That includes face-to-face events, we do information stalls, we have training and workshops, as I explained, about hate crime, also about violence against women and girls, around antisocial behavior. We also do presentations, like this one, for example. We can do that in different forums, community meetings and online training and workshops as well. So quite a lot going on that front, but we're not even close to done yet because there's a lot more communities to reach. Just a little bit of an idea of like the engagement events, like White Ribbon Walk, which attended 50 people, ASB Talk at Kingston Library for the Hong Kong community, a bystander training for street pastors, etc., etc. So just to give you a bit of an idea. And then just a note with our email address, if you're interested, just let us know. These are kind of the categories that we have. So general and community safety, which is what we're doing now. We can do specific about hate crime and social behavior, violence against women and girls, young people. We have bystander training. That's very much how to intervene if something happens in your neighborhood. So how can you safely intervene is the main thing. And we can discuss that in a training session as well. We have domestic abuse and also around exploitation. We do training sessions as well. And then we're professionals. We do similar training sessions, but a bit more in depth of how professionals can respond. As I talked about the victim impact training for antisocial behavior. So here a bit of an overview of the amount of training sessions organized and a bit of the idea what we organize. So for example, about modern slavery and about child to parent violence, about cuckooing. Cuckooing is when someone takes over a home of someone else, a vulnerable adult, and they use it, for example, for criminality, usually for drug dealing. So just to make professionals more aware of those issues and how to recognize them. And then to finish off, community safety survey, I brought some flyers as well for the survey. So we are holding a survey at the moment, which closes in February, where we ask the view of people what is important in your neighborhood. Do you feel safe, like during the day, during the night, etc. It gives us a bit of an insight in what residents actually find in their neighborhoods. Very much encourage everyone to fill that in. I have the flyers with the QR code, but it's also on the slides. And then I think that was the end. Yeah, that is the end. So thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much, Lenica. That excellent presentation gives us a real overview of what you're doing. Before I go to questions from councillors, we do have an opportunity for. Oh, okay, right. I thought we had a resident who wanted to ask a question. We'll go straight to councillors then. And are there any councillors who wish to ask any questions or make any comments? I've got Councillor Tylan and then Councillor Waldridge. Yeah, okay. And then Councillor Manders and Shopper. Okay, so Councillor Tylan, please.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just want to talk about hate crime figures. You mentioned Kingston Regional Equality Council. Actually, they'll be celebrating 50 years next year. It started as a small organization in 1976, and in 1990, it was the Kingston Regional Equality Council was formed, and when Jonas was recruited. Do you have any hate crime figures for Kingston Borough as a whole? So, an average this year, or?
So, thank you for your question, first of all. Hate crime, so we're working on kind of like improving that data. So hate crime in principle gets reported to the police, or it gets reported to Stop Hate UK, for example, or it comes to Kingston Race and Equalities Council. Sometimes there's a hate crime element to antisocial behaviour reports. So the hate crime figures we feel are not quite accurate. So we're kind of working on like better labeling if there's hate crime involved in antisocial behaviour, that we have that hate crime label on it so that we can actually measure it better. But at the moment, the data is not great apart from the police data. But we appreciate that a lot of people don't go to the police for hate crime. For various reasons, and that's why we brought in the services. So the short answer is there might be data, but how accurate is questionable. And I think the data that we have most is at the moment the police data, which I think they present at the ward panel meetings as well.
Yeah, thank you. I attended the CREC AGM recently, and they produced some figures, national figures. According to the graph, the last 10 years, it's increasing. Particularly the last couple of years, it's really gone up. So, so that's why I was wondering what the figures for Kingston is. I mean, according to the police, Kingston is one of the safest boroughs, and I think again, CREC is Racial Equality Council is in Kingston. All the other racial councils being closed now throughout the other boroughs. So I'm sure the figures probably less here, but I just was interested. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the figures only tell us so much regarding hate crime. You're right, like around Jonas from Kingston Race and Equalities Council presented that recently at the event as well, the figures of hate crimes going up. But for example, in the Youth Council surveys, racism is one of, and hate crimes is one of the priorities for young people, but it doesn't reflect in the figures at all. So it's like, it's for us about to find out how do we get more people to report that. And when people, for example, call Stop Hate UK, they get support. It will be anonymized. It doesn't need to be shared with the police unless there is a safeguarding concern directly. But they will record the figures as well. So that will give us hopefully a bit more accurate picture of what's going on. But there's a lot of work to do about promoting that helpline to get people to actually access that as well. So yeah, more work to be done on that field. And I don't know exactly the figures about the hate crime at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Waldridge?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Yeah, it's a really good report. My specific section, and I've come sort of prepared for it, with regarding the community safety update, is what it means for HMOs. And we've had, you and I have had some action on this with regard to a joint operation in the past, which, shall we say, was rather interesting. So is it possible that officers can provide an update on current enforcement activity around HMOs in the Tolworth, Surbiton neighbourhood, specifically the number of inspections, any unlicensed HMOs identified, and the main ASB or waste issues arising from them over the last 6 months? I think we'd all be interested to see. If memory serves me right, I did ask, not you, but I did ask the last incumbent on that seat that question. I believe I'm still waiting for it. I have a supplementary, so over to you.
Yeah. I don't have an answer to that one at this moment, so I will have to take that back. Just also for the HMO, as you might be aware, that the HMOs are managed. We have the environmental health team that does the enforcement on the licensed HMOs. Then we, of course, have the unlicensed HMO. If my memory serves me right, is under 5 bedrooms. It doesn't need to be licensed. So those unlicensed, we don't have the enforcement on the licensing, which then limits us in the enforcement just as any other property. But the best thing I can do is to take the question back and then provide an update. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think we'd all be really grateful. And my supplementary is going to be no less helpful. Where properties are repeatedly linked to complaints, noise, waste, mismanagement or suspected overcrowding, can officers set out what additional steps are being taken, including the joint visits with police? Separately, police are coming back to me with data and information, which they're more than willing to share, clearly, because they've got a real problem with it, it seems. So including joint visits with police, civil penalties or escalation against landlords who fail to manage their HMO's responsibility. Responsible. A bit of responsibility would be good, but responsible is the word I'm looking for. And that's it. Thank you very much.
I will take that away as well, because I can't answer that on the spot. I have to ask several teams. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Lenica. I just need to advise the committee that Councillor Conn has sent his apologies. Councillor Shopper.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for the presentation. And just a quick question. On the slide that talks about the antisocial behaviour by Neighbourhood, out of the 399 reports that RBK receives on antisocial behaviour, do we have any data on the number of reports which are taken up by the police or investigated? In other words, is there a relationship between us and how those reports are handled or taken forward? Thanks.
Yeah, that will be almost all of them. So all the reports that we get in, we work together with the police. And if there's no direct police action, we will still inform the police about it, because they might have intel on that property already, for example, if it's neighbour disputes. For housing and the same for housing and for community safety, when we receive reports, we work very closely with the police, because people report in both ways and we need to share that intelligence. So yeah, almost all, I would say. It's very rarely that we don't need to inform the police about something. No exact figures I have. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Shopper. I had myself down on the list next, and then I was going to go to Councillor Green. So I just wanted to ask, I know that you mentioned crime reporting. I think that's from what I've seen, it's a big problem that we have, in that people see crimes, but they're not willing to report them. So we tend to get a lot of under-reporting, and this is well known, and the police are always encouraging people to report crimes either to 999 if they see them in progress, or 101 even after the fact, just for criminal intelligence. But that's kind of by the side. My real question is, where do most of your reports that you investigate come from? Do they come from resident reports, or do they come from things that are fed through to you from the police?
Are you talking about antisocial behaviour, or in general, like also work on locations and violence and all of it?
I'm thinking of particular incidents like antisocial behaviour or problems with drug dealing or anything like that. Other issues that you might be dealing with?
That is very much a mix, but a lot of the reports come from residents or from yourself as councillors. So I know that a lot of residents come to yourself with issues, and then you feed them to us, and then we become aware of it. The majority of it is like that. When we come to more serious incidents, and sometimes also drug dealing, when the police are struggling with an area, for example, and they need council's input. For example, if we look at Fishponds Park, where we have a green space that our green spaces team, for example, can then input in, and they know that, then they will get in contact with us as well. So when we look at the public spaces, we get information from police that are struggling with the public place, and the public space is council owned, and then we get involved in what we can do. When it comes to issues in residential roads, it's very much the residents reporting or you as councillors informing us about the issues.
Okay, but you would agree though, it is very important for residents to report, report. Yeah, okay.
My key message is always, if you don't report, we don't know about it, and we get questions asked sometimes, why haven't you done anything about a certain area? Very much it is because we don't know about it, and it's very difficult, like we don't know everything that's happening across the borough, we don't patrol in the first instance, so that's very important to understand. The police patrols and knows what is going on in the neighbourhood, but also then they still don't know every single bit and every single time. So it's very much important to report it, because only residents are there at night time, early in the morning, at the times that we are all not there. So yeah, definitely encourage reporting.
Right, okay, yeah, definitely is very much a collaborative effort. Thank you very much. Councillor Green?
Thanks. Two things. One is, whilst everyone else was asking you questions, I went on to the survey, and excellent survey. Apart from when you click on something and the fact that the dot changes to say, I've selected this option, it's not very clear. I know that's Let's Talk rather than you, but if you can feed it back, because it wasn't obvious to me which one I'd clicked on. Whether that's my Chromebook, I don't know.
Can you define which page? Because it's not Let's Talk, it's us.
Oh,
we input in it, so we, so we can make the amendments.
Yeah, the first page all of the pages where you select one option.
Okay.
So it was fine when you could tick the box for i.e. 3 things or more, but the one where you select, I am choosing item A, the dot went tiny. And I wondered if I'd clicked it. That wasn't the reason I actually indicated I wanted to speak, but I thought I may as well feed that back. It was on the back of what Ty was asking you about hate crime. There seems to be across the country a rising number of disabled crime. And I wondered whether you had any statistics on reported disabled crime, because I know, again, that's a massively underreported crime, and whether you've got any information on that.
I do and I don't. So I do through conversations with the Disability Network. So I do have information related that they don't report issues, but I don't have exact statistics. So like around 6 months ago, I went to the Disability Network, got invited there to talk about hate crime. That sparked a lot of conversation about certain services not feeling that it's inclusive for them. They don't want to access it because they feel it's not for them. So that was an issue identified, which we're looking into. Then we also did some consultation with people with disabilities around our flyers and our information, if the information reaches people with disabilities and if it's actually accessible, what we are providing. So that work is still on the way. Then last week there was an event related to International Day of Disabilities. That one I also attended to just provide my support and to make sure that we are there to listen to people with disabilities and to get their views on what we should provide. Also someone from the Disability Network attended our hate crime event, spoke to her yesterday at an event. So we have a lot of conversations about that. Exact statistics I don't know, but from everyone I've spoken to, no, there's no reporting of the issues that are happening. But we know the issues.
No, that's really useful, thank you. And it's good to see that it's on your radar. And it would be great if we can get a little bit more. I'm guessing that a load of those will be from to the police, any reporting that does happen. It would just be interesting to add it in to future statistics, because I think it's a less recognised crime that happens, because obviously the idea that you do hate crime against a disabled person is just a bit weird to most of us. I mean, all kind of hate crime. I'm going to stop now because I'm just going to dig myself into trouble, because all hate crime is weird to us. But it's one that probably doesn't go to the top of people's heads.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Thailand, did you have another question?
Yeah, thank you. Just to follow up from what my colleague Councillor Woolridge said about HMOs, as you know, it's the increase, and most of our casework is related to ASBs on HMOs. And sometimes when we call the council, they are not even aware that it's a HMO. Probably it's not licensed, it's not registered. So that's a worrying thing. But sometimes we try to contact the owner or the agents, but again, we don't have the information. Recently, the neighbor complained about waste outside the property, and there was no bins at all. It was one small bin, and it was an HMO. And when I rang the council, when I wrote to the council, they were not aware there's an HMO. They thought it's only one, and they supplied only one bin. So then I've given them the contact details for the agents, managing agents to contact. So I don't know, but maybe they don't all register for licensing. It's something you need to worry about, I think. Thank you.
I will add that to my list of things to check related to HMOs and what we can do about it, because I appreciate your concern about the HMOs and the lack of information that there is if we have. Is it an HMO? Is it not? Like, I know that from my work that sometimes we don't know if it is or if it's not. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Yoganathan and then Councillor Holt.
Just following on from HMO, in Surbiton neighbourhood, we are getting quite a lot of houses being converted into, more than 5. More than the licensing and hearing, but Andrew Woolbridge and Thai was talking about it. We are well aware about the implication. What I wanted is, because I know he asked you to send a report or whatever you are finding, can you please send it to me as well? Because there are a lot of concerns and there are a lot of issues, and people are taking it personally, and it would be better. We are all working together. And when I come back to the local police, are they also doing their part in terms of what Thai was talking about? I have a strong feeling, maybe because they haven't got enough staff, they are shifting their agenda. You know what I mean. I'm happy to talk to you personally. By the end of the day, we are here talking as an elected councillor, and they are there to enforce certain things. I can't do their job. I need them. So please send me the details what you are sending to them. That would be very grateful, so that I know exactly whom I contact them and how we deal with them effectively as a joint team. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
I suggest that I provide the answer to Herman and to the chair, and that they share it with the whole committee, because I think it's relevant for all of you to receive an answer to that. So yeah, I suggest that.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lenica. And Councillor Holt.
Thank you. It's a follow-on question as well, and just an update that I had got on an HMO in my ward, and it was to do with the people owning the property not contacting the street numbering and naming. And so when I was asking why there were not more bins, because there were more people there, and they said that it was only ones that was registered with more as individual rooms rather than one property, that they could get the bins. So I think if you need to sort of come together and agree, you know, how if they may in this case they're probably below your threshold, but we still have to have owners saying how many individual properties, you know, how many individual people are in the property, and so that we can get the proper number of, well, in this case it was bins, but in another case it will be something else.
I think what I will do, I will bring together the council teams that are responsible for HMOs one way or the other. I will make sure that we get an overview of what everyone can do and what is within their powers and what is in the powers of the police to do related to that, and how as a partnership, because we are all under the Save Kingston partnership essentially to provide support around community safety in the neighbourhoods. So I'll provide a response related to that about the responsibilities, because of course certain things fall under the council, certain things are very specific for one individual HMO, other things are repeating in different HMOs which we need to look at. So I will take that back. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Wooldridge.
Hello. Hi again. Hello. Having done some deep diving on this, our colleagues, specifically myself, trying to get the figure on the public register with regard to licensed HMOs is telling me at the moment there's 397 in Kingston. A couple of years ago it was 611. Trying to extrapolate the number of licensed, and then it's the unlicensed ones which are the issues. So I think really, yeah, I mean, we need to get a handle to open the door on unlicensed HMOs. So if you can take it away, I'll be really grateful. Thank you very much.
So one thing I can do and one thing I can't do. So what I can do is to provide an update on what we can do related to enforcement on those properties and getting kind of like the register right, etc. I can do that. However, I can't change the policy on giving licenses of HMOs. So that is not within my remit. So if there is something like that you would like to change related to that, that is way above my pay grade, I'm afraid. So I will check around the register, about the registration of the different HMOs and like what we do around the unlicensed ones as well. I'll take that back. However, it's very difficult for me to give an answer around why we have so many HMOs. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Did you have...
Yes. I mean, of course, you're absolutely right. You know, the consummate professional you are, you're absolutely right with regard to it. But, of course, reconnaissance is rarely wasted, which means once we know what the figures are, we then know what the action we can take. So many thanks for the confirmation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any further questions on or comments on this item? Okay. Thank you very much, Lineker. I think that was an excellent report, and I think that the amount of interest that is generated here amongst members is good evidence of the value of bringing this to this committee. So thank you for your time in doing that and putting that together for us. And yes,
I just leave the leaflets here, if that's all right, for anyone to pick up afterwards and to share also with people in your neighbourhood. So I'll leave them here.
Okay.
Thank
Everybody
you very much.
must pick one of those up before they leave the room. Okay. You could leave a couple on the corner of the table over there as well, and for the members of the audience as well. Okay. Thank you very much. That brings this agenda item. Sorry, I was...
Just a quick question. The presentation, could you share it with us?
Should be in the papers, yes, should be shared already.
It's in the agenda. Yeah.
At the supplement.
It's a supplement to the agenda, right? Okay, brilliant. Well, that brings this item to a close. Thank you very much again for your time and the excellent report. That was very useful. So we move on to item 7, which is the Yule Road Cycle Route Experimental Traffic Management Order. This is an item for decision. Members of the committee and meeting participants can refer to Appendix B of the agenda pack for information on this. And I would like to invite Owen Bentley, Project Manager, Cycleways Program, to introduce the report. Thank you.
Now? Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, wrong way. I was expecting it to light up. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm Owen Bentley. I'm the project manager for new cycleways in the borough. So to introduce the report, a little bit of context. 2020 to 21, Ewell Road cycleway was constructed as part of a big package of work that was done around that time in the borough, part of the Mini Holland programme funded by TfL. That, of course, was the middle of COVID, so the project was hit by that, the funding was cut, and only about half the scheme was built. And those local in the area might notice that we're now constructing the other half of the scheme between Red Line Road in Tolworth and Hollyfield Road. This particular report relates to the section of road between Langley Road and Oak Hill Crescent. The original scheme on the Surbiton bound side of the road, northbound side of the road, the original scheme had a section of shared use between pedestrians and cyclists alongside the shop fronts and retention of parking in the road, which wasn't very well received, and it was probably compromised too far. And that was recognised in the Place Committee in March 24, made a decision to make amendments in that section to remove the parking, which is partially mitigated by extra parking on side roads, but to remove the parking on the main road, on Ewell Road, in order to build a cycleway that's separated from the pavement, from the pedestrians. The process we use to make these changes is our traffic management orders. This was done under an experimental traffic management order, which allows people to review and object within the first 6 months of it being made. So the parking was removed, but the loading bay was retained. The difference being the loading bay used to be on the road, but in the new layout, it's mainly on the cycleway. So when it's in use, it effectively blocks the cycleway, and cyclists can go round the back, share with pedestrians. So during the objection period, we had 7 objections or partial objections, all saying pretty much the same thing. Namely that the concerns that of the loading bay blocking the cycleway, forcing cyclists into the road or the pavement. So it's a fine judgment with these things, with a finite space. It always has been, always will be. So having reviewed it, our view was that we could alter the balance to retain the loading facility off-peak, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m, keep it completely free during peak times, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m, and to, again, allow loading outside of those hours, but not to allow parking. And that's mainly in response to the objections that were made and kind of in line with council's policies to promote and encourage cycling on the road. So that's what the recommendation says. I wasn't going to read it all out. It's there in the report, but I think that's it to introduce the report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Owen. So we now have a period of time for public comments. There are 4 members of the public registered to comment on this item. What we'll do is we'll give you 3 minutes to make a comment to the committee. We prefer that you keep it as a comment. If you do ask a question, we'll save all the questions to the end and then see if Owen is able to answer those questions here or whether they would need to be taken away. So I'd like to start with Celia Osborne. Thank you, Celia. So you've got 3 minutes. I don't think you need to turn that on. I think it's on by default. Yeah. And Herman will let you know when there's 30 seconds left.
Okay. So I'm Celia Osborne. I'm the owner of Number Works and Woods. It's a private tuition company at 152 Ewell Road, very close to the loading bay. I speak also on behalf of the owners of Munchie's Cafe, Farrow's Barber, home and wear store on the other side, The Grind, now Community Cafe, Smile Dentist Centre, Ishva News, Food and Wine, Camella Biscuit, Olive Pizza, Stitch and Sew. All of these businesses are in agreement with what I say, but unfortunately they can't be here tonight. Or to be honest, they've said it's a waste of time, but I wouldn't tell you that. Most of those small businesses are businesses that you don't necessarily notice until you need them. And most people drive for 10 minutes or more to get to us. I'm sorry, Owen, but quite frankly, I think the proposal we're discussing is a waste of your time and a waste of everybody's time. Yes, of course you'll agree it, and, you know, motherhood and apple pie, but it will have absolutely no effect. And why I'm quoting from one of the comments, if you do create loading bays that can't be for general, these can't be for general parking purposes, well, I've news to the author, they're not. And I, for one, have always assumed that they're illegal to park in those loading bays all the time. And I admit, I have done so. So, why do people park in them at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12:30, all through the day? It's because when the decision was taken to remove those 7 parking spaces and paint double yellow lines on the road and have a cycleway, nobody considered the whole impact of the scheme. Nothing like that can be considered in a microcosm, and it's always necessary to think about effect. The consequence of improving the cycle path has in effect removed 100% of parking from that side of the road. Those cars and vans that block the block the cycle path, both in the loading bay and just on the double yellow lines, generally do so because they've got no choice. They want to go into a shop or cafe and they see there's nowhere to park. Yes, they might see a parking space on the other side of the road. They might swivel round or go round, but probably they won't bother. If they can get into one of the spaces anyway, that's another matter. The result is people either park illegally or they don't bother to stop and they never go to that shop again. Result, businesses close
30
and you've
seconds.
got a parade of empty shops. There are 5 new bays, but they're time limited to 4 hours, not 2 hours. They are shared, and this is the rub, with permit holder spaces, and result, all 5 spaces are always blocked, 9 to 5, by the same 5 cars. I've got phone evidence of it, all day, removing all customer parking for those shops on the side of the road. They're parking perfectly legally. I'm not saying
Time is up.
Sorry, time's up.
Oh yeah, sorry. If you could wrap it up. I think you made your point.
What I'm saying is, once the parking for customers and clients is sorted, the loading bay will be sorted as well.
Thank you very much. See you there. Right. Could I ask our second speaker, Seti Sargazi, to come forward? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So again, it's 3 minutes. Herman will let you know when there's 30 seconds left.
Hello, and thank you, everyone.
Oh, and sorry, could you move the microphone slightly closer to you, please, so that we can hear you?
Hello, is it good? Okay. Hello, my name is Sedi, and I run Party Lol, the party shop in Ewell Road. You've been maybe there. I run it with my husband. We have 2 children to support. We're a real people, we're family. And since 2015, we have created jobs in this community. Today, we employ local staff whose studies and livelihood rely on this job. We had to reduce staff and cut their hours due to the new problem since this cycle lane and removing 100% of our parkings started. So I'm standing here because the situation for small businesses on this road is becoming harder and harder, and honestly, it's frightening. Every day I see customers trying to support us. They slow down, they look for somewhere to park, and then they drive away because there is simply nowhere for them to stop. As a small business owner, watching that is heartbreaking. It's not just one sell slot, it feels like our high street is slowly slipping away. And I'm sure everyone's business in this road feels the same. The recent parking and road changes have had a huge impact. There wasn't enough consultation, and now all of us are struggling. People don't always realize how much small businesses depend on short, quick visits. Someone popping in for balloons, party supplies, a treat, a haircut, a coffee, a pizza, or a lesson. These small moments keep us alive. When people can't stop, we lose them. I want to share something personal. At Party Lol, we often need to load heavy items, displays, props, decorations into customer cars or in our own. We don't own a van. We can't afford one. We use a small car for deliveries. And yet, we once received a ticket while loading in the loading bay, the very place designed for loading, simply because the rules only allow commercial vans, not small cars. We were punished because we can't afford a bigger car. It is deeply unfair. That is why I'm asking you to consider these real practical changes, please. I have 3 suggestions.
30 seconds.
Number 1, change the loading bay rules, both the one in front of Sainsbury and the one in front of 152. Allow all cars a maximum of 20 minutes. This helps small businesses load heavy items safely and let customers load their purchases. It prevents long-term abuse, but allow us to function. Right now, we are forced to park illegally or on the cycle lane just to load. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right. Moving. Right. Okay. I'm sorry. Our third speaker is Matt Stephen. Sorry, you've got 3 minutes, and Herman will let you know when there's 30 seconds left. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Councillors. My name is Matt Stephen, and I'm speaking this evening on behalf of Kingston Cycling Campaign. We represent people who cycle of all ages across the borough. Kingston Cycling Campaign strongly support the Council's recommendation to amend the loading and parking arrangements next to 140 to 142 Ewell Road. This section of Cycleway 29 is a crucial link in a 4-kilometre safer route from Tolworth to Kingston that should be finally completed in 2026. The changes made last year to this stretch of Ewell Road have already made a dramatic improvement compared to before, when people cycling had to mix with those walking on the narrow pavement, and we thank the Council for those improvements. However, the current loading bay arrangement undermines the improvement. Allowing vehicles to park from early evening to the next morning all day Sunday, as well as allowing loading during peak period, blocks the cycle path completely, and as a result forces cyclists into conflict with people walking or into motor traffic. This is hazardous, particularly for children, older residents and those new to cycling. It would seem common sense that a loading bay should not be for general parking and that a strategic cycleway is not blocked during peak hours, particularly when children may be cycling to nearby schools. The proposed changes, which prohibit general parking and restrict loading to off-peak hours, are exactly what is needed in our view. In our view, they balance the needs of local businesses for loading with the safety of those walking and cycling. Importantly, it would also bring the loading bay in line with many others on key cycleways in Surbiton and other parts of the borough. We do appreciate that businesses will have a desire for increased flexibility. However, unrestricted overnight parking, as we've seen elsewhere in the borough, is often used by the same cars for the entire unrestricted period and leaves the cycle lane blocked when it isn't dark and is harder to see other hazards on the road or pavement. Parking remains available nearby on Langley Road and on the opposite side of the road via 2 signalised crossings. We also, to the lady's point earlier, we wouldn't object to flexibilities to the Council's recommendation, for example, allowing cars to use the loading bay for genuine loading during the proposed hours. But by listening to the comments received to the traffic order and acting to prioritise people walking and cycling, the Council will be encouraging more people to choose cycling for local journeys, And on behalf of Kingston Cycling Campaign, I would urge you to
30
approve these
seconds.
sensible and proportionate changes that will make the cycleway safer and more attractive for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Matt. And could I ask Hilary Gander? And again, 3 minutes. Thank you.
I need a cushion.
Yeah.
Thank you. The switch to active travel, many of you will have heard me speak about this before when I was a councillor, is good for us all as individuals, as a neighbourhood, reducing pollution, getting us active, and obviously for the planet because of the CO2 emissions. And the cycle lane that we're talking about, that little stretch of it, is part of a network which is going to help many people who are looking at becoming cyclists start to think that they could actually do it. I have visited the shops there within the last month. I bought some things in your shop in Party Lol. I bought a couple of wigs for fancy dress, so if anybody wants to see photos of that, they were quite amusing. And it just goes, for me, I think people forget that cyclists and pedestrians are shoppers too. It's not just cars that are going to be patrons of these shops. If these cycle lanes are to be successful and we're going to shift people out of their cars, they're going to need to be safe and continuous travel routes. And the most important part of the travel routes is the commuter school times, when you're likely to get more people cycling. So loading should not be allowed at those times. I think perhaps we're all agreed on that. The objections from the police were interesting. The objection saying that they're frightened of people going onto the road. I've actually seen that happen as cyclists just shoot out into the road because of the obstruction on the cycle lane, and the footpath is too narrow to share. So the issue of no parking at any time, which is what Kingston Cycling Campaign is promoting, I think is still the best idea. I do appreciate the concerns of businesses, but there is parking elsewhere. And I think this could be made more clear that there's parking in Langley Road, and maybe it should be made that it's exclusive for shoppers. Any parking at all encourages what I might call fly parking. So you're going to have a report.
30 seconds.
Going to have a report about the rangers dealing with fly tipping. It's important to deal with it quickly, otherwise it encourages more. Well, if parking is there a lot, then it's going to encourage more parking and more illegal parking. So I would encourage the committee to decide that it's no parking at all apart from those loading bays being allowed at those certain times. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Hilary. I wanted to apologize to Seti. I don't think you were able to finish the last your three points, and I just wanted to give you a chance if you could just briefly come back and just make those three recommendations, just if you could make it brief, though, please. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just 3 points. Shall I?
Yes, please. If you could just read them.
From the first one.
If you could just read them out, just
Yeah.
the three of them together,
Okay.
that would be great. Thank you.
So number one, my suggestion: change the loading bay rules, both the one in front of Sainsbury and the one in front of 152. Allow all cars a maximum of 20 minutes. This helps small businesses load heavy items safely and let customers load their purchases. It prevents long-term abuse, but allows us to function. Right now, we are forced to park illegally or on the cycle lane just to load, and that helps no one. Number two, change Langley Road parkings to pay and display with a 1 hour limit. At the moment, permit holders' cars block these spaces all day. We have proof. We took photo. In 1 hour limit, a 1 hour limit would create the quick turnover that local shops desperately need. And number 3, add more pay and display spaces on Browns Road. Half of the residence permits in Browns Road, half of them are empty at the moment that could be used with short-time parking customers. There is room there, and it would reduce the pressure on Eel Road. People just need somewhere legal and close to park for a few minutes. We're not asking for the wall, we're asking for fairness and for a chance to survive. We fully support safe cycling, but we also want our small businesses to be here next year.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted you to have a chance. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to give you a chance to make those 3 points. Okay, so moving on, I will now move from the chair of the recommendations at the front of the report on page B1. This is from the this is that the committee is asked to resolve that the representations received during the ETMO as set out in paragraphs 3 to 4 of the report be noted and partially upheld. Number 2, that the ETMO be made permanent with a revision such that the loading bay operating hours be restricted to those set out in paragraph 5 of the report. And 3, all those who made representations to be notified of the committee's decision. So just for the purposes of getting the debate going, do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Schapper. So what I want to do is, I suspect members may have some views on this, and I'd like to hear from members and then maybe entertain an amendment to the recommendations. But do I have anybody who would like to speak on this item? Councillor Manders? Councillor Holt? Go ahead, Councillor Manders.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I need to declare that I'm an ordinary member of the London Cycling Campaign, of which the Kingston Cycling Campaign is a branch. But saying that, I mean, I can see both sides in this. There has been a concentration in recent years, and particularly by cycle campaigners, on hard infrastructure. And Kingston Council has spent £33 million on improving cycle facilities in the borough. Most of that money has come from the GLA. But it's still a lot of money, and we have made major steps forwards, really, in trying to make cycling safer in the borough. But there's another thing that we've done which also has a fundamental improvement in terms of cycling and in pedestrian safety, and that's the adoption of 20-mile-an-hour limits on most of the borough's council roads. We've made major efforts to do this. We can't really continue putting in very much more hard infrastructure. Well, one is the money's not there to do it in future, and 2, the road space is very limited, and it's proving very difficult indeed to squeeze, as it were, on top. In addition to, as it were, 2 lanes for traffic and pedestrian pavements on either side, to squeeze a cycle lane in, and that's the one reason why there's been these compromises. And effectively barriers, really, in some cases, in the cycle lane. This ETMO is an attempt, really, to try and improve a bad situation, I think, really, for everyone. I've got sympathy with the shopkeepers, although I have to say, often shopkeepers do presume that everyone comes to their shop by car. That's not necessarily the case. If I'd been allowed to ask a question of some of the presenters, I would have asked whether they had actually surveyed their customers to see how they actually got to that shop, and whether parking was a particular issue if they were going there by car. The problems with business are more than just people not being able to park. The problems with business are fundamental and due to the overall state of the economy. So I'm supporting this tonight, but with all those caveats, really, effectively. This is a very difficult decision for us to make. We have to balance the interests, but we've got to promote safer cycling. We really want it in the end so that children can cycle to school safely by themselves without having to be accompanied by an adult. I'm talking about older children rather than very young children. And the only way we can do that is have it so that cyclists don't have to keep on going on and off the road. They have a continuous cycle route. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Holt.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for coming this evening and making your case. It's, I think, following on from Councillor Manders, it is a compromise. We're retrofitting a cycleway into existing structure, and we're trying to make it safer for our pedestrians and for our cyclists and people who, and well, for the buses to go along there, but also people who need to use cars And I suppose I'm sort of listening to the point. I do have a great deal of sympathy, and I've come to this, I've spoken to actually a few of the businesses already. We've looked at the additional parking spaces that were provided, and there's 30 minutes free. We are also looking at, through my other portfolio, I'm a councillor in Surbiton Hill, but I'm also economic development portfolio, and we are doing a review of all the shopping parades in the borough with a view to seeing how we can, some of the things that you've suggested are actually some of the things that we're looking to potentially introduce. We've got some people looking at that, and once they report back to us, we will then look at what the options are, and some of the things that you've very helpfully suggested are certainly some things that I think would be helpful to have for people to be able to stop by. And it was partly the reason why we've got the 30 minutes free, and we do have 30 minutes free on the parking spaces. I know it's on the other side of the road and further along the road beyond the Londa's convenience store. There's 30 minutes free there as well. So, but it's about compromise, and I probably, and also I don't, it's we're looking at this cycling community. I can see why you're saying that there's the vehicles are there, and I have actually raised members' inquiries about the fact that cars seem to be parked, and I would say parked rather than loading, unloading. And I know that you've said about your car getting a ticket, because it does clearly say that it's for goods vehicles only. But it did feel like there were lots of cars parked there, and I did raise it. But that was during the day, so not in the evening and overnight, which you can do, which the sign does say. It says it on that side of the road and on the other side of the road. So I'm not very keen to change that. I was quite happy. I was thinking that we could keep it the way it is, not to have to enforce the parking that's going on there. Because I see it as parking, whether it's, and I think sometimes it's construction vehicles as well, parking there for quite a period of time. I walk along there all the time. I live along the road. I walk there and up and down, going to the shops and various things. So I do observe it. But my thoughts were that I'd prefer to keep it, not to do the changes, because I do think it was a compromise. If we go back to what we did originally, we have taken away the parking spaces. It has freed up that whole space much more than was before, but the detrimental impact has been to the parking spaces for the businesses. And these businesses have got nowhere else to load and unload. They have to do it on the main road. They don't have rear, in the main, they don't have rear access. The same with Sainsbury's and the same with the other premises along there. So that is their only way of doing it. So they do have to have loading, and I would not like to have, I'm not quite sure whether we've asked, and I've certainly not asked, when do the businesses get things delivered. So So I would have some concerns about doing that to further restricting when loading and unloading can happen. So I would probably be minded to not do the recommendation that the officers to keep it the way it is, so that's it. But with the proviso that we, as a council, we've agreed that we will do a parking study throughout the whole of the borough, and we will look to be doing some of the things that you've mentioned as a possible mitigation, maybe the 20 minutes freeze slots or bays around, additional ones of those for people to stop and shop.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor. Yeah, I mean, I completely took on board the points that Celia was making about the needing to look at this holistically. You know, look at this in the round. And I think that, and following on from what you were saying, I think we need to look at a broader area, do a parking study of that road and the surrounding areas, to understand what we could be doing there. I think and I agree with you, Councillor Holt, that the problem that we have with bringing in this recommendation is the restriction that it places on there being no loading between 7 and 10 a.m. and between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Because from talking to businesses, these are actually prime times for getting deliveries, especially in the mornings. And I think as Councillor Manders is saying, we have done we've done a lot in terms of cycling provision in the borough, and you know the 20 mile an hour has made a big difference as well. So I wanted to propose that we consider an amendment to this to the recommendations, which is that we remove the words partially upheld in recommendation 1 to be replaced by the words set aside. So we set aside the objections, and then second, that the words with a revision such as a loading bay operating hours be restricted as set out in paragraph 5 of the report, then that part of the recommendation be removed. So the effect of it would be to keep the ETMO, to formalize the ETMO as a TMO with no changes to what we have in place right now. That would be the effect of it. So could I have a second for that amendment? Yeah, Councillor Shopper, thank you. Okay, so we're now discussing the amendment, and I'd like to... We'll come to that after we've discussed. Yes. Right. So just, right, Councillor Green and then Councillor Waldridge.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, the problem with leaving it as it is, it doesn't really suit anybody, does it? So the cyclists aren't happy because they've got people parked in the loading bay, and the businesses aren't happy because they've got no parking spaces. And my problem with leaving it as it is, I get what you're saying, Alison. The review is needed. Can we not extend the experimental traffic order, and this is a question actually, extend that till we've got the parking review so that we can try and solve... There's a solution here, I know there is. They've raised some of the points, others have been raised. There is a solution to this problem. It is not a wicked problem of the world like climate change. There's a solution that keeps everybody happy. So if we could just extend the ETMO, I suppose, or vote to keep it as it is, but to revisit this part of it, when we get the parking review and we put in some little bays to park, I've used many of the shops along there. Sometimes I walk, sometimes I'm in the car. Depends how lazy I'm feeling. No, I was sorry, yeah. They don't, some people do, though, and they still take the car sometimes, and some people get the bus. So we don't know exactly what their method of transport is, as Councillor Manders said, and unless you've done a proper survey, you don't know what the method of transport is. I know for number works it would be easy because you actually have where they live, because they have to register with you. But the shops won't have that. Certainly Munchies has never asked me my mode of transport as I go in to get a bacon butty.
Knowing where you live does not say how you get there.
Yeah, but where I live or what my transport method is when going for a bacon butty. So I think there's a solution is what I'm trying to say, is we could leave it as it is, we could just extend the ETMO if that's allowed, and then come back with that parking review, and then maybe everyone will come back and go, yippee, love it, proper cycleway, proper parking, but appreciating you can't maybe have as much as you did before.
Sorry. Sorry. If I can keep the comments from the audience, we're just having our debate here. Okay, right. Owen, it's been recommended that you might come back on the technical point that's been raised here.
Yes, the ETMO can be up to 18 months. So I think it came in on November 24th November, so it can go up to April 2026 as an experimental TMO, but that's from May, sorry, yeah, I can't count, yeah, sorry, up to May 2026 as an experimental TMO. There's slight subtleties to it. The objection period is finished, that's only for 6 months, but the council can keep the ETMO for up to 18 months, and during that period can either make it permanent or revoke it or make changes to it. So there's flexibility, but it can, in short, up to May 26.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Does that answer that answers the points that you raised?
It does. I don't know if I'm allowed to move an amendment on an amendment. I can't remember the bloody rules. I've got to deal with that one. Can I tell?
Okay.
What's your comment? Can I say what it would be in case we are able to do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
That we defer this item. Now we'll enter the pre-election period in mid-March, which will finish obviously on the election day. We will not be entitled to take this kind of a decision during that pre-election period. So that actually it comes back after the traffic survey is done for the first of the new municipal parking survey, the first Surbiton Neighbourhood meeting of the new municipal year, whenever that is.
This is why we keep Herman around.
The last.
We have
to be approved, yes.
Right.
But
okay. Dates to be announced. Okay. So we have before us two options. One is to, well, I think we're generally heading in the same direction. Yeah, we are heading in the same direction. Is kind of whether we decide to go this way to get to it or this way to get to it. So I've got. We've got Councillor Waldridge. I think, yeah, okay, let me go to Councillor Waldridge, and then I'll come to Councillor White, and then Councillor Manders. And then, hopefully by then, we'll have decided which of these two routes we want to get to.
Are you absolutely sure, Chair, you want to do it that way?
I just want to hear your
I'll get
comments.
on with it.
I want to hear your comments.
As Councillor Liz Green, who's actually already given us a solution, really. Wise words, competent, capable. I will sadly miss you when you're no longer around. I said that last time, and I'll say it again. What I was going to say, this is active travel versus active business. When I go to, I know that section very, very well. I speak to all of the traders, and some of them know me better than others. People are migrating down to Victoria Road and using Sainsbury's car park. Bottom line, it's very, very difficult. And I think that, I mean, keep the cycle lane clear at peak times and allow loading only off-peak. That protects active travel and the busiest, and it's busiest while still letting businesses operate would be the initial answer. But I mean, I think we need to sit down and do what Liz said, frankly.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor White.
Thank you. I agree with Liz that there has to be a solution for this. It is fixable, manageable. However, I think I'm not quite with you on that way or that way. I am really concerned about the cycle lane being blocked at all times at the moment, or at times having to go around and through. And I just don't think that is safe for anybody or encouraging what we're actually trying to do. I completely agree that there needs to be some sort of parking review, and if round the corner there can be some 30 minutes, and if all of that can be reviewed. So should we wait to do all of that? But I'm worried about the cyclists in the meantime. So I am still minded for what we have in front of us, with the absolute promise that what's coming through the in Alison's portfolio to address the parking issues is coming. I also, because I don't know my ETMOs very well, the sign that says loading by professional, by big vans, why that can't just say and local businesses, and the farmers market all have little signs that they just slip in their window and say, I am from Party Lol, and I am doing my parking, my loading right now. Can we do that just as an interim if we were to stay with this, wait for the parking review, but have that in the short term, which at least helps the businesses themselves, if not their or their customers.
Okay, thank you very much. I wasn't aware of that loading option on the Maple Road. That's very useful information.
I think it's possibly well, actually, it's not. It has signs up. It does have yellow signs up that say that parking for Surbiton Farmers Market loaders
but
only.
That's not permanent. That is a
no,
restriction.
Thank you very much, councillors. So moving on to Councillor Manders, and then I've got Councillor Holt.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm inclined to support Councillor Green's proposal rather than lose this recommendation tonight. And I've been a professional delivery driver myself, Chair. Many years ago.
You're a jack of all trades.
Absolutely. It's yeah. At least you didn't follow that with the second sentence in that saying. So I have some sympathy for that. But I think if there's going to be a parking review, that's really what we need first before we can make a decision on this. But I do have a technical question, which is that in the end, most of this work that we're doing is paid for by the GLA, and in some cases it's been quite well won by Kingston to get that money from the GLA, and we have done disproportionately well out of funding for cycling in this borough against other boroughs. So my question is, if we effectively if we are diluting or devaluing the cycle lane, which we have had funding from the GLA, does that put any other funding from the GLA in terms of cycle revision in jeopardy in some way? They do come along and inspect in the end what we've done, and they want to know how their money is spent. Also, we only get the money in instalments effectively after we've done the work. So is there a danger that if we're effectively doing a defective cycle lane, that this then starts to threaten the money for the completion of the route to Tolworth, and perhaps even had a knock-on effect with the new Malden route?
Are you able to comment on that, Owen?
I'm not sure I can. The funding we're getting from TfL or GLA since Mini Holland is much lower. They wouldn't get involved with a review of this nature, of this kind of thing. In principle, it could affect future bids because the current situation is not in accordance with the latest guidance. The national guidance called LTM 120. However, I wouldn't like to comment if it would have this particular situation would have an impact. Sorry.
Sorry, could you clarify what the national guidance says?
Well, I couldn't quote chapter and verse, but I suspect it's guidance, not standards. But so the Active Travel England, who is an organisation, part of DFT that funds councils across the country, give money to schemes that are in accordance with it, and similarly with TfL. So I think blocking of cycle lanes in peak hours would be one of their critical issues. Having a loading bay on a cycle lane off-peak wouldn't be. But as I say, I wouldn't like to. I'm not saying that TfL will stop funding because of this. That would be a step too far. But it's plausible.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Coming back to you, Councillor Holt.
Mine are partially questions as well. So, I think the thing I'm quite happy for us to, if that's the way we're going, is to keep the ETMO open for another period of time, and see what the outcome of the parking review. I can't have any guarantees as to when that's going to be, but we certainly are pushing on with it. My only plea would be about parking and the enforcement. So I'm going to ask the parking enforcement of the bays in the interim, because I think that's the key at the moment. I do think that it's being used, not for people dropping in and loading, unloading, but is being used for parking, which I think is and that's getting in the way of the cycleway. And so I definitely would like to see that to happen in the interim. But I also just wanted to go on to because it's ATMO for that part of the cycleway, I want to ask a couple of questions on the other bits as well. And so we've been asked quite a few times by residents about the cleaning of the cycleways, and I'd quite like to know whether we've come up with a solution, because there are certain bits that the parts of the cycleway has been there for quite a time now, and they're beginning to look a little bit like in need of some cleaning. So I just wanted to know if that's something that you could give an answer to. And then the next question is about the continuous pathways. They've also give rise to a lot of comments from my residents, not come through in this here, but it certainly comes up. And I know we're continuing it further down Yule Road. So it's on as a result of what we've done with St Matthew's School Street. We've had the little signs on the lamppost to make it very clear what's going on, a little bit of information. I do think there needs to be a little bit more education about these continuous pathways, and that would be having that information on the lampposts, and also having some education in the schools. Thinking of particularly because the ones that are nearby, St Matthew's, Lime Tree, and as it's going further down Newell Road, Tolworth. So those were probably 3 questions: enforcement, cleaning, and education on continuous pathways.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer all of those. I'll comment and certainly take those comments back. In terms of street cleaning, I've spoken to our head of street cleaning. We know it's an issue that it's an active issue they're looking at. I think they're trying to balance cost with effectiveness of cleaning these segregated cycleways. So it's a comment I can take back to get an answer to you outside of the meetings. It's not in my remit. Similarly, enforcement, I can speak to the enforcement team and ask for further enforcement. They can focus enforcement on certain areas where needed if there's an issue with too much parking, which is not allowing the loading. So that's something I can request, and again I can feed back to you. The continuous foot crossings one, yes, personally I think that's a good idea. It's something I can take back to my director and ask about, education, information. These kind of treatments being rolled out in many places across the country now, and they're now in the new cycle standards as well. So there'll be more and more of them. People will get more and more used to them, but it's for many people they are still new, and I think I'll take that comment back to my director to feedback. It's obviously about resources as well. So is that enough? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Owen. So so Herman tells me that if we were to go with the extension of the ETMO, you would have to come back to the March 19th meeting for decision, because otherwise the 18 months would expire before we had the opportunity for our meeting in June, which he says would be on the 9th of June. So just... Oh, okay.
To be clear on that first.
Okay, so did you hear that? And can you confirm whether that's 18 months is ironclad?
I did hear that, and I don't know the answer to that. I know it's 18 months, but I couldn't tell you. My understanding is that's the legal period.
So if it expires in a pre-election period, then we don't know what happens then.
On the other hand, when the order expires, there's following procedures, the standard process, new orders can be made. So it's if one order expires, my understanding is it will lapse and the existing situation will remain. The council can then propose a new ETMO to come into effect. So in practical terms, perhaps it's not so much of an issue.
Right, okay. Okay, Councillor Holt.
I would think it's within our, the gift of this committee to decide, and if we want it to come back within a certain timescale. I think in the past, my memory is that we've looked at ETMOs and we've decided to extend them or bring them early. I think it's within our gift as a committee. So that would be, that we could take that away. If you can take that away and see if that is the possibility, because we're asking for it to be delayed.
Right, okay. Councillor Green.
Yeah, Google's no use. I was trying to Google it. But, I mean, if we weren't to make a decision within the 18 months, I think it would either stay as it is or we would have to promise to revert back because we hadn't made it permanent. However, we obviously, between May and June, the expiry of the ETMO and June, would not have programmed in the works to put it back to how it was. So if we then make a permanent TMO, we'd be all right, surely.
In June.
In June. I mean, it does starting to look like I just want off this decision since I stand down in May, but which is not the case. I just really want that parking review before making a decision.
I think
I'll come back and give you my opinion in June. How about that from the audience?
We'll hold you to that. We'll issue a writ and hold you before the committee. Okay, fantastic. So I think the way we're heading then is along the lines of your earlier suggestions. So if I withdraw the amendment that I made, that I was proposing, and we say, and you'd like to make the amendment that we amendment to defer. Okay. Do we have a second? Do we have a second for an amendment to defer, Councillor Sharper? Okay. So, do we need to discuss this any further, or can we go to a vote on this? Sorry, we're just going to confer for a second. Okay, right, great. Okay, so Councillor Manders.
Yes, just on the technical question, so you're going to move a revised amendment. Are you accepting Councillor Green's proposal?
Right, what I've done is I withdrew my amendment and now Councillor Green's amendment is on the table, which is to defer until June or May. Sorry, until May 26.
Yeah, no, I understand the principles. It's the technical question. So you're going to vote on the amendment, and then we're then going to have a vote on the recommendation as a whole.
Well, technically, yes, that's what we have to do.
Well, the reason is because I would support the amendment, but I would abstain on the recommendation as a
well,
whole.
I'm not going to tell you how to vote. So.
In which case, I'd like to move a procedural motion under whatever Herman says it's under on the standing orders.
Okay, terrific. Do you still second that, Councillor? Great, fantastic. Okay, do we need any further discussion on this? We go straight to the floor on this one. Okay, great. So, can I take this as unanimous, or do we need a vote? Are we? Beg your pardon? Oh, okay. Can I have a show? Sorry, can I just have a quick show of hands? Yes. Okay. On deferring. Okay. Terrific. Listen to that.
I've got 10.
Okay.
Except Councillor Mann. Yes, 10 for.
Okay. The procedural motion passes. This is deferred until May 26th. Owen, if you would kindly get us, have a chat with Matt about this, we'd appreciate it, and let me come back to us. Thank you very much. So I'm going to move quickly on to the next item. Which is the neighbourhood manager's report. So if I could ask, if I could just ask the people in the audience to let us, thank you. So we move on to agenda item 8, neighbourhood manager's report, ranger activity in 2025. You can look in Appendix C of the agenda pack. This is not an item for decision, merely for the committee, not merely, but it is for the committee to note the updates provided in the report. James.
Thank you, Chair. There we go, that's better. As you note, this is an information item about the neighbourhood ranger activity undertaken this calendar year. And as set out in the report, in paragraph 1, you can see the wider range of activities the rangers undertake on behalf of the council. And in table 1 below that, you can see a summary of the activity in Surbiton in 2025. This was a snapshot taken on the 18th of November. This is the third year the council's collected this data in this way. So you can see below that in table 2 how the top 5 activities this year compared to the 2 previous years. Just for your ease of reference, I've colour-coded the ones that repeat year after year. So, for example, you can see graffiti removal is constantly in the top 2, and small fly tip removal is constantly in the top 3. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, James. Councillor White?
Thank you very much. It's not a question, it's a comment, if that's all right.
That would be fine. We'll take questions and comments together. Thank you.
Just to say thank you very much, and again, it shows the amazing work that the rangers do and how incredibly valuable they are. I think we're especially lucky in our neighbourhood with Moon, because I do think Moon is absolutely wonderful. And one of just the sort of physical things that I see is our notice boards are much better than anyone else's. So I think she does a wonderful job, and that really helps inform. They're so I love them. I learn so much from them. So please pass on thanks to Moon as well. Thanks.
There we go. We have tip-top boards. Excellent. Councillor Yoganathan, I think I saw your hand. Nope. Okay. Councillor Hurlinger.
Yes, I echo Councillor White's comments, and I'm just pleased that the amount of graffiti that needs to be removed has come down. So that's an encouraging sign, and hopefully the speed in which it's done helps discourage graffiti being put there in the first place. So hopefully that trend will continue in future years.
I would just add, I appreciate the speed with which fly tips are removed after they're reported. Especially the small ones, and I think that helps to stop them accruing into bigger ones. Councillor Manders?
Yeah, so it's an impressive list of activity, and it shows how the council has been proactive and on a neighbourhood basis. It means that we're not just reliant on residents to report defects. I mean, obviously, there are some things like our parks and so on, where we do regular inspections, and there's obviously things like regular collection of rubbish as well. But it's still useful to have these people, such as the rangers, who are free to do really a lot of activities on behalf of the council and not locked into a particular department in that way. I've never met our ranger. I almost did, but she was off sick, and I met somebody who was substituting for her. Certainly I would welcome, and I'm sure many of the other councillors would as well, meeting the ranger just to thank them for their activity. So if that's possible to arrange sometime in their working time, then I would like to do that. Thank you.
Well, I would just add that I did meet the ranger. It was some time ago, but she was coming to deliver a load of litter picking tools for a community litter pick. So that was another helpful service. Councillor Green.
I just want to say thanks as well to them all. But if you do want to meet the rangers, hang around towards the start of the morning at the Guildhall car park. And they're all coming out, and you can just say hello to Dale, to Moon, to, I forget the name of, what's the name of the other woman with the long blonde hair? Jackie. Is it Jackie?
Jackie, yes.
Jackie, yeah. Any of them. And they all are lovely to chat to and just say hello. So anytime you want to see them.
Right. Fantastic. Okay. If you want to get up early in the morning and go down to the Guildhall. Yes. Fantastic. Okay. Are there any further comments on this item? No? Thank you. Work programme, please note, Appendix D of the agenda. There are no urgent items, so I close the meeting at 21:24. Thank you very much, and have a happy Christmas.